Mom loved clean windows and washed curtains. I understand her. A transparent window is an illusion of its absence and connection with nature. As if the poplar is very close, just hold out your hand. And if the window is dirty, then this is a reminder that you are fenced off from the outside world, in which cars drive, factories smoke, and gas stations are built. Mom loved clean windows, but didn't like washing them. While we lived together, I washed them. Every week. In winter, only inside, in all other seasons, everywhere. Mom asked, and if I did not fulfill the request, she was offended. She cried and drank valerian. Mom asked, and if I did not fulfill the request, she was offended. She cried and drank valeriana. Mother's valerian is a great motivator. I went and washed the windows, even though I hate cleaning. But I hate it even more when it smells like valeriana. I got tired of washing the windows and rushed out to get married. For the one who does not turn clean and who does not care about dirty windows. In contrast to my mother's clean ones, it turned out to be very sexy. I left my mother, began to live with my husband on his living space. Mom was capricious, demanded me back, waited for me to play enough with my wife. I went to see her less and less. Because every trip is a cleaning. And if I'm tired, then also cleaning, but through valeriana. Then I gave birth to a son, and I was not at all up to other people's dirty windows. Mom used to take offense at me, I used to make excuses. Classic codependency, realized on my part. Mom, I can't go from another city to wash your windows. I have a family, a small child, a lot of things to do. There is such a cleaning service, I will pay, a person will come and wash your windows. Stranger. Mom is horrified. Yes. Will come, wash and leave. This is his job. A person will come and ask, are you lonely? I will say, no, I have a daughter. The person will ask, why won't she wash your windows? And I will die of shame. Do not die. Explain to him that you want the windows to be washed every week. And your daughter lives in another city and has a baby. It's all terrible. Strangers wash my windows as if I myself cannot. But you can't. I gave birth to someone who can. He can't either. He does not want. And this is very embarrassing. Mom, I haven't washed windows at home for 2 seasons. Even 3. I do not have time. Aren't you ashamed? Not. I had other, no less important things to do. Windows are the soul of the hostess. Clean windows and delicious borscht. If you have dirty windows. I'm a bad housewife and it suits me. I just do not understand who you are. I would die of shame. I was mad. Throwing up the pipes. Nervousness and manipulation is a built-in feature in my mom's basic package. She loved that everything was the way she wants and when it is convenient for her. It feels like she doesn't need clean windows, she needs windows that were washed by me. Once she asked me to take her to a chalet with seedlings. Tuesday. I couldn't on Tuesday, I could on Thursday. Mom, come on Thursday. I'll go back on Thursday. I need Tuesday. Let me find a driver, pay him, and he will take you. Stranger. What will the neighbors say? They will say, where is your daughter, why does she not care about you? Shame. I understood, Mom didn't need to go to the chalet, she needed me to take her to the chalet. I was angry. Resisted. Plowshares. She cried. I begged. Explained. Throwing up the pipes. I called again. Mom. It took me several years to understand that this is my mother's tyranny, in fact, a subconscious desire to be around, to compensate for the fact that during my entire 30-year life at that time we lived together for only 5 years. Mom didn't raise me, she didn't have time for this, but now she does, and she lures me to her, but now I don't have time for this. And in general, the cool thing is timeliness is when 2 people coincide in time and interests in one moment, which cannot be shifted to later. You cannot choose any convenient time to nurse your daughter, you need to nurse her while she is little. While my mother was looking for this time, I had already grown up, and I do not need a mother who nurses, I learned to extract mother's warmth from other sources. But the generation of our mothers is not prone to reflection and will never admit their mistakes. Mom wanted to be on my pens, wanted to be near, to draw attention to herself, but she simply did not know any other language of communication, except for ultimatums. The realization of this fact made me softer. I wasn't angry anymore, I read between the lines. Mom set tasks for me with a single purpose, to see me. And I offered to replace myself with cleaners and drivers for money. Why does she need strangers in her life? She needs a daughter. I began to visit her more often. I took my son and came to my mother for several days, and sometimes for a whole week. Mom interpreted these visits of mine differently. She decided that I was running away from my husband, and everything is bad with us, and these departures are harbingers of divorce. Are you getting a divorce? Mom, what nonsense, we're fine. Well, if you don't want to, don't tell me. Our mom's generation is never wrong, huh? Life is an amazing boomerang. She herself imposes justice. I grew up in a deficit of my mother's love, and then my mother lived in an unconscious deficiency of mine. Life was amused, orchestrating the situation. Then my mother got very sick. At first I did not understand that everything was serious, I thought it was another manipulation. Health manipulation is the most effective. They guarantee that at any time of the day or night I will drop everything and go to her to save her. But in reality it turns out that no one needs to be saved. That is, it is necessary, but not from the leaping pressure, but from an attack of dislike. Once I was driving to her at night, pregnant, after her call that she felt bad. Mom was crying into the phone. I began to get ready, had a fight with my husband, who was trying to keep me up, and rushed through the city at night, at the speed limit for 2 hours, to make sure that my mother was sleeping sweetly. But that time it was all serious. Mom became weak, could not walk without support, first asked for a walker, and then moved into a wheelchair. And then she completely fell ill. I understood that she needed care. I began to look for a nurse with a medical education. It turned out to be a very expensive service. And the heavier the patient, the more expensive. After all, it must be lifted, washed, etc. The average price of such care, taking into account the mother's weight, is 65,000 rubles a month. This is without everything, just work. And also diapers, medicines, food. It turned out generally under 100. But the biggest problem I foresaw was not even money. This is the fact that a stranger will look after Mom. Not me. I directly saw my mother's tears, and this is her signature, I will die of shame. The neighbors will ask, don't you have a daughter? I decided to move in with my mother. With son. It was August. I will send the child to the garden in September. And I will take care of my mother. The husband was dumbfounded by this decision. I did not invite him with me, because I understood that he would not go. He has been living alone since he was 14, with me from 23, he has forgotten how to live in someone else's territory. And then, to leave for someone else's house in carpets, in crystal, in endless manipulations. We will come to you for the weekend, I reassured him. Well, consider that we are leaving to work. Earn 100,000. The husband considered the decision a failure. He was ready to get a second job, and find an opportunity to pay for his mother-in-law's nurse. Yes, and I could go to work, my son, to the garden. I didn't know how to explain to my husband that my mother didn't need a stranger. My husband did not know how to explain to me that I was once again succumbing to manipulation. We parted at the peak of misunderstanding each other. Family is support. Support is opening an umbrella in the rain over someone you are very angry with. Because no matter how angry you are, you love him, and love is stronger than resentment and misunderstanding. I sat in the rain and did not feel anyone's umbrellas. I had one umbrella and I opened it over my mother, not over my husband, because my mother needs it. Mom is sick. And my mother is one, there will be no other. I survived for 6 months. 6 months of domestic hell. I am objectively a bad nurse. Because I'm not a nurse. I lacked tolerance and acceptance. I didn't have the strength not to frown if it smells bad, not to hide my disgust, not to be angry that I myself choose such a life, and no one understands this choice, and I myself do not understand it anymore. No, I provided my mom with the best possible care, washed, changed, washed. It was painful, but necessary. But every second I felt like a living person, trapped in a trap of obligations. The situation was aggravated by the fact that I had long become a mother to my capricious mother, and the pain made her embittered, sarcastic, stabbing. She was constantly unhappy, frowned, pushed my hands away, said terrible things. And tears constantly flowed from the injustice. For an adult full diaper I would like to endure under a quiet and grateful, thank you, and not through insults at my handlessness. Later I will understand how humiliating her immobility was to my mother, how unbearable the feeling that she was a burden, how terrible it is when old age falls upon you with all its ruthless essence. This old woman Isargal beats you. It was my personal Stockholm syndrome. My mother took me hostage, hurt me, and the louder she cursed and insulted, the more sorry I felt for her, the more terrible for her. I was deeply unhappy for those 6 months. I came for the weekend and fell into the arms of my husband, waiting for rehabilitation with love and fun. It was my weekend from old age, from hopelessness, from the fear that life would end in such a painfully unsightly. But my husband did not want my whining and did not want to feel sorry for anyone. He wanted to live with his family, he created it for this, and did not understand why on weekdays he was forced to be a bachelor. And over the weekend we did not have time to recreate what was torn apart on weekdays. In general, one Thursday I was tired. I looked out the clean window and realized, a little more, and I will go out into it. I just can't take it anymore. I cannot do what I am not effective in, what is expected of me, what is considered correct, but in fact torments everyone. I went into my mother's room with a beautiful woman of my age and said, "Mom, this is Natalie, your nurse." "And you?" Mom asked. "And I home," I answered. And my mother began to cry. And I cried. But these were different tears. I returned home. I went to work. To make a living with her husband. She began to heal a limping family. And Mom suddenly very quickly went on the mend. A month later she got into a stroller, then got up on a walker, then almost walked by herself. The nurse was just a pro, she knew how to distinguish whims from necessity and set the rules herself. She did not wash the windows when her mother wanted it, but washed when necessary. Mom realized that a strange woman with a short haircut, who does not lend itself to her manipulation, was in charge of her house. And the only way to get rid of her is to make her stay in the apartment, not advisable. And for this you need to recover. This is a good story and a very instructive experience, a whole box of my personal insights. About the fact that people fall into the web of some manipulations of their own free will, and they need it, because they cannot do otherwise. About the fact that some debts do not have to be paid off yourself. About the fact that looking through clean windows is much more interesting, when behind them is a landscape chosen by you, and not by circumstances. And about the fact that only you decide how to properly love those you love. And your loved ones have the right to dispose of your love as they see fit. And you yourself. Determine the cleanliness of your window and choose the windows in which your sunrises and sunsets are hidden. Olga Savalyeva.